Welcome to this episode of Skipton Talks, everyone. Today on the sofa, I have Simon Farrell-Roberts, our new-ish head of mortgage lending, or Si to his friends. Welcome, Si. Welcome to the settee.
It's good to be here.
Welcome for walking up both flights of steps to join me today. Let's get things rolling. So let's start off. So tell us a bit about Simon and your career to date.
Okay, well, it's good to be here. And yes, it was a bit of a trek up the one flight. So who am I? Well, I was born in Nottinghamshire, grew up locally, educated locally, and post my college years, I dipped straight into employment. So early doors, 30 years I've done now in the industry. So got lots to bring to Skipton and looking forward to drawing on all of that experience. I've recently left my last employer. I was there, one of the big high street banks, there for 30 years. And as you can imagine, over that time, have worked in loads and loads of different areas, lots of different jobs. Most of them gravitate back to the mortgage business, the mortgage and protection business. So whether that's from day one underwriting mortgage applications, which I loved, every single one is always different. There's a story wrapped around every one. And that's engaging with the brokers too, right through to my last job, which was the head of performance and operations. The direct business, sort of said big.
So you kind of sim both sides of the intermediary world, protection world, and the direct business as well.
Absolutely, with the customer fundamentally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've just come from one of the biggest banks in the high street, and now you've come to the outstanding Skipton Building Society. What attracted you to us?
There's a few things really. Probably first thing is the purpose. I think it talks to me. It's very clear, completely centric to the customer. Secondly, innovation. I think the thing that I was really aware of was Skipton was always innovating and solving for customer challenges, particularly at first-time buyer, just something really close to my heart. And then, obviously, Paul, the opportunity to come and work alongside yourself was just too good an opportunity to miss. And alongside that, there's my experience. I could see there's a real opportunity to be able to bring some innovation into the lending team, and particularly thinking about tech and pace. And then alongside that, as I said before, I was working with a direct lender predominantly, and Skipton is very intermediary based and broker based. So that change I was particularly excited about.
So that's interesting, because that leads me on to my next question. So at Skipton, we're really about championing the intermediary market. So what can brokers expect from your new lending team in 2025?
Well, good news is they can continue to expect everything that we do today. So common sense, accessibility, great policy. We'll look at the kind of grey and be able to give access to an underwriter, all in support of the customer. But alongside that, we've set some clear ambitions of where we want to get to. So we're already market leading, Paul, as you know, in terms of our speed of decisioning and getting offers to brokers in support of the customer. But we want to take that to a whole new level and start to think about where some of the tech enablement will help us with earlier decisioning, automated income, automated valuation, alongside other tools that we're looking at. We have some work underway right now which will help brokers from a minimum submission point of view. So that's the checklist of activities or checklist of documents that we want brokers to send to us.
Have we got a timeline for some of those changes?
Yeah, absolutely. We will be going in Q1 and trying to pin down to January, February time. Right. I'll come back and talk a little bit more about that. But they will be enhancements to e-mortgages platform, but ensure that we've got a really clear signposting of what's needed.
Okay.
So we can get the offer out quicker, or the decision quicker for the customer.
And I guess it'd be quite good for you to come back, maybe sit in this seat and share a bit more about what that actually means as we get closer to launch. So that's great. From a BDM perspective, one of the things we want to talk more about is the value of packaging, or the value of getting it right, getting it right first time. Why is it important for your teams in new lending, particularly in terms of good packaging or documentation up front?
So in support of the customer, and the broker and my team are here in support of the customer. So my team are really focused on getting to yes as quickly as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, the system will do many of the checks for us, but clearly the broker will have accessibility to some of those documents. So the sooner that we can have the documents that we need, the quicker we'll be able to interact with that broker and get the customer their offer. I'm targeting my guys on outcomes and celebrating those outcomes, and the team are really rallying around that ambition. So packaging, it's a well-trodden discussion, I'm sure, but it's one that's really, really important. I think if we can work on that together in support of the client, we're going to be able to fulfill.
And I guess that's the flip side of the question, isn't it? So I understand why your teams would get the benefit of the information, the documentation, everything they need to make the decision almost immediately. But what does the broker and the broker's client get out of that as well?
So certainty, I think, is the most important thing. The first-time buyer or the mover is really keen to understand that Skipton can help them into their dream property, and having that certainty of decision is really important. So I think for me, I'm not precious about the time frame. We'll get there as quickly as we can. Mm-hmm. It's important for me to ensure that we can do that in support of the customer at the earliest possible time frame, as well as improving efficiency within the team. So rather than touching the case 10, 12 times, the closer we can get to 1, 2, 3 touches to get that decision is really key.
And I guess it works both ways. So your team want to deliver the answer to the advisor as quickly as possible. So my team, when they're out in the field or on the telephones, need to be championing the value of the quality of the quality agenda as well. So okay, good. Top tips for brokers. So as you mentioned, we're not going to change access to underwriters. It's really helpful and helps our proposition and the service we deliver. But what top tips would you give to brokers for when they engage with your team in particular?
Well, continue to engage with us. I think that's really important. The open dialogue. I'm encouraging my team to make contact with the broker on first touch, so we can be clear around the method of contact, the frequency of contact, but most importantly, what we need in order to fulfill the offer for the customer. So be prepared. Obviously, we'll always check security. We need to do that. So please appreciate why we do that. But having documents readily available is probably my most simple ask. But continue to talk to us where you're unsure about a case. If I look at part of my team, the senior underwriting specialists, they've interacted over 3,000 times from the 1st of Jan to the end of October on grey cases.
So 3,000 conversations with
3,000 conversations, and many of those ultimately have turned into a decision that had that interaction never have happened, we may not have been able to support that lending. So continue to do that as we want to help.
Okay, good. So now we're in 2025. What's your one ask for brokers this year? If you could have one thing delivered to you, what would it be?
So I'd probably say I've got 2.
Okay.
So the first one...
You're new, you can have 2.
So the first one probably goes without saying, really, and that is continue to choose Skipton to support your customer journey, but all of the reasons that you already know and we've talked about today. And I guess secondly would be that point around helping us in service of the customer to have the right documents at the right time. So provide us with what we need, don't give us what we don't need. And, we will aim to get your decision as quickly as we possibly can.
For in service of the broker and in service of the customer, so that everybody's happy. Thank you for your time today, Simon. It's been great to hear from you, and thank you for taking time to watch this episode of Skipton Talks.